So you started your career as a journalist. At what point did you feel the entrepreneurial spirit kick in?
So, as a journalist, I think I had spent the last couple of years studying journalism. And then when I actually jumped into the career, there was this gnawing sense inside that it wasn't really right for me. And I didn't really want to listen to it because my parents had just spent like $100,000 in a private school education, getting a journalism degree at NYU. And I think that once you start listening to what you don't know what you want, then you start opening yourself up to entrepreneurship. But the truth is, I was a journalist and my boyfriend moved to LA and I followed him and we broke up after 3 weeks and I couldn't find a job in journalism. And I started going to this internet cafe called Cyber Java and started learning how to create websites. And when I got into the internet or web design, web development, something inside clicked. Like I really loved this, and it was a totally different feeling from what I got when I was a journalist. So
So it's a little bit like a drug, that feeling. It's like elation, and that's what it is for me. I'm wondering if you had an idea that you had an entrepreneurial engine within you, or did you just discover it during this internet cafe time of your life?
my dad was an entrepreneur, and he always told me that, yeah, you're going to do this journalism stuff for about 5 years, but you may want to consider. And it was a good thing that he didn't push me into it because I probably would have rebelled. Let me do whatever, let me decide what I want to do. But I think my first initial thing was, should I do website design or search and optimization? But really what it comes down to is I just love building businesses. That's what I found. Like it wouldn't have mattered whether or not it was a waxing company or like a purse accessory or a cookie business with my kids. I love that adrenaline that you get, that high that you get. Like you said,
Yep.
it's a drug.
So, what are the differences between the two of many of your businesses, but Citrus Studios and Orange and Bergamot? Can you talk about both of them and why you have both?
Yeah, so Citrus Studios is mainly focused on building big websites for big organizations, Fortune 500 companies. And Orange and Bergamot, I spun it off because I really want to help a million female founders make $1 million in revenue and create a million jobs. And in order for you to do that as a brand, you need to be a magnet for your potential customers. You talk to them in a different way. Like a female entrepreneur is completely different from a Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company. So that's why there's a little bit of a change in that. Yeah.
Had you ever thought with Citrus of just rolling that up into that brand, or did you know immediately when you wanted to create a different niche and a different service that you definitely had to have a different brand for that?
I think because I started learning about branding probably halfway into my career at Citrus, because we were primarily focused on website design, and I think 7 years into it, I understood what branding was. I think once you understand what branding is, which is really focused, really understanding that you are not selling to everyone, that's when I knew it was right to spin it off completely. Because if you say that you're gluten free and you are for climate change and you're also, I don't know, keto, it's confusing.
It can
So,
be, yeah, convoluted. I'm really glad to know that because I had always wondered because those are different entities, right? An LLC or an S corp, whatever they are, those are different tax returns. Those are different costs. Do you share overhead and staff between the two?
yes, there is an overlap, but as far as pricing goes, it's we because Orange and Bergamots, there's smaller projects. They're less cost because we spend less time on it. We don't go through a full blown process. That's why I wrote the book, Little Brand Book. It gives them a little bit of understanding what branding is. We go through a totally different process. But yeah, we do share teams together. Yeah.
Interesting, because this podcast is really geared to entrepreneurs and also people that want to be an entrepreneur. I love the idea of giving our listeners a learning, experience. So in talking about sharing resources, let's get into the little nitty gritty of like time management and tracking and making sure that if Stephanie, I just made that name up, works on 70% of her time on a big citrus event or a citrus website, and then the rest of her time is spent on orange and bergamot. How do you make sure you separate that so that your expenses and you know what your profits are? What
So
is your secret?
we use a tool called Hubstaff, which is a software that everyone tracks their time on. So depending on what project they're working on, it actually takes screenshots of your computer. So it's relatively easy to see what they're working on.
That's great. So we'll make sure that we get that in the notes. That's interesting. So when I've used Fiverr or one of those, I think it was Fiverr or Upwork, that person would randomly, I would get screenshots from them. And I'm like, no, I believe that you're working on my job. And they're like, oh, we have nothing to do with it. The engine sends it and the engine takes the screenshot. I like that I like slash don't like that artificial intelligence element.
Yeah. What I
So
find, I thought it was really important to do that, especially during COVID, because I found that the people who were really hardworking were working way too many hours, and the people who weren't working, like they weren't doing the work. So it's just good to be able to track. So that's what we do.
I agree 100%. And it helps everything with finances and profit, but also culture. It spreads its wings. So we're moving around very quickly. And the reason why is because you have so many things going on. And I want everyone to know all of the things, but also be able to deep dive into some of them. So you created something called Luxe Link, which I'd like you to talk about. But the question I'd like to know is how much time do you spend working on it? And what's the future look like for that brand? So you can just talk about all of that stuff right now.
Yeah, so LuxLink is, I have a patent on this accessory that keeps your purse off the ground. I thought, coming from a service business, that a product would be so much easier, but at the end of the day, every single type of business has some type of, you need to put work into it. But now we have systems, now we have our licensing agreements, we have our e-commerce platform, so it's running. And so we basically license, we sell our license to several big organizations, and so we get royalty checks for that. We have a process for our e-commerce orders, and it's running pretty smoothly. So I don't really have to do very much for that. And I have a team helping with social media.
Yes. And again, so as a teaching moment, so now we're talking about 3 companies so far. And I want people to understand we talk in entrepreneurs organization and at some point any entrepreneur is going to be told that working on their business rather in their day to day is an important step. So within LuxLink, is there overlap with citrus and orange and bergamot? And how does that work? And how much of your time, if you had to show us a pie chart, what sliver is accounting to your time on LuxLink, for instance?
Probably 10% of my time now. Like we have a factory in Zhongshan, China. We have our, warehouse in Gardena. I have my assistant that will, tell me if there's some issues, but it's very, very little now. But I started that company in 2006.
Are
That's
you
when we
saying
started.
it's little in as far as size of company or little as far as input that you need to give it now?
The latter. I only
Okay.
focus. Last week, someone had sent me like, "Oh, there's this girl on TikTok that's saying that she invented the purse hook," and I just notified the team. There's a process for sending a cease and desist. She got a licensing agreement together. Like we already have a process, so I did really for that.
Great. So keeping along the lines of how to manage and juggle multiple businesses, one of the curious things that I would like to know from you, and I don't ask this of everyone, and I really should. First of all, do you have a CFO or a fractional CFO?
Yes.
What point in your business, as far as let's just throw out a revenue number, did you start working with a CFO, or do you remember?
probably around 2007, 2008. Like around the time that I joined EO in 2008, I already had a CFO prior to that.
So I asked the question because I was at probably 4 million in revenue before it even occurred to me to have a CFO. And one of the things that I talk to people about is I really wish I had one much earlier. It would have been so much easier. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that you need to have trusted advisors. So I've had my same attorney from the very, very beginning. So that legal wise, and I have multiple attorneys for my different companies. But as far as the CFO, it came 7 years into my business. And absolutely, it's important for them to be on your case because sometimes for me, it's just my focus is like other things. And like, oh, I want to create this other thing. But she will pull me back and say, where the number,
Yeah,
and sometimes it's just, sometimes I get a little annoyed because I don't want someone to hold me accountable because I'm wild and I want to do whatever I want to do, but she asks the right questions, but she's great. Yeah.
that's good. So let's talk about the little brand book, which is gorgeous and very smart and such a helpful guidebook for entrepreneurs and people. What was the impetus around that? And then I have some follow up questions that are very curious to me that I think other people would be very interested in.
Yeah, so it came down to trying to see how I can help a million female founders. And we charge a lot of money for our brand consulting and our workshops to get people there. Like for Citrus, like our starting cost is, I don't know, $30,000. And that's something that a female founder really can't afford. And you wouldn't want to spend $30,000 on your brand right away. But if you understand who you are, what you do, and why it matters, and the book is like a tiny baby step to understand how the world works, that you appear to people in a different way. You know, once you understand what archetypes are, how people make judgments on who you are, and also understanding what your strengths are and focusing on that, it can help you make good decisions. The impetus of the book was because I want to help as many women succeed as possible.
How did you come up with the various archetypes and what made you put the number that you did in there versus smaller or much more? There's quite a few, but
Yeah, there's 144 archetypes. The concept of the book is there's always been the idea of major archetypes, but as I was exploring other books that were writing about archetypes, that you really don't fall into one. If someone is a rebel brand, like sometimes that could be like a major part of who you are, but there's this minor part of you could be like the rebel, but an original brand, which is someone who's super creative but wants to think outside the box. And so that was my realization. And as I was stepping back and seeing that, oh, everyone talks about these 12 archetypes, but no one falls neatly into one. And so if you understand these sort of major and minor archetypes and how they show up in your personality, your brand, it will help you distinguish yourself. Because if I tell you that, oh yeah, the Nike brand is a rebel brand, it probably wouldn't really make sense. But if I had told you that it was like the the hero brand plus a rebel brand, perhaps it's not really the right brand, but then it'll make a lot more sense to you. So.
and where do you fall? And where do you fall? And can that change over time?
Yeah, so I fall as a leader slash maven. So a leader is someone in a leadership role, but I also love teaching. And I wish I knew that about myself a long time ago, but sometimes there's that concept like the Johari window. There are things that are blind to you. I started teaching classes on the internet in 1996. So I've been doing this for free. And now you see all these people doing like online digital courses, like teaching. I was doing that in 1996 without being told. But if you had told me like, oh, you could be a teacher. My parents, my mom, my grandmother, and my grandfather was a teacher, but I didn't identify myself as a teacher. And I wish I knew that. And then looking back, when I was at the Getty, before I started my businesses, I was also teaching. I just came up with all these little classes and this curriculum. And I know I just invited you to this full year ahead workshop. I created a workbook, like 2 weeks on this workbook. And then I worked till 3 a.m. the day before one of the workshops, like earlier this year. And I just loved it. And I wish I knew that about myself. I just didn't see it. So
Do you think you were slowly growing into it and that it was just actually the perfect time?
I've been doing it since 1996. That's what I was
Yeah.
telling you. If I had known that of myself, like I would have probably done these digital courses when I first started. I thought to myself, as a leader, you need to sell a product. I just didn't know,
I see you may have done that more
earlier.
as a profession, maybe other than or rather than some of your other things. There's no way to know. Of course, the hindsight is 2020.
Like for
Talk
instance, like Brendan Burchard teaching since 2000. They've been all these people who are really popular now. Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo. They were doing it for 7 to 10 years prior to what everyone is doing. And that would have been good because I wasn't on the internet this whole time. You're busy doing other things.
You were busy doing a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the Maven archetype and what that means for you.
So the maven is the one who likes to share, who likes to take in knowledge and also share it. So Oprah is the epitome of a maven brand, someone who likes to, yeah, consume information and share.
Great. So back to the brand book itself is, let's see, first of all, the target demographic. So it's women. And do they have to be entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial? Or is it something I can give to my 25-year-old daughter?
Oh, I think that you don't have to, but I really believe that if you understand who you are, it helps you make choices in the world. So it is geared for the fact that I think that we need to have more female entrepreneurs. There's such a huge gap. There's 30.2 million small businesses, and only, I think, 12 million are women. And the rest of them are male entrepreneurs. Like, I think we need to show up more. So
Yes.
it's the hope that not only to understand who you are, but also that you can do something phenomenal.
Are your books, are you promoting them to high schools and colleges? And if you're not, would be a great demographic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So you self-published at first, and I saw that issue, and it's beautifully designed. So period, end of story. If you want a beautifully designed book, this is it. But then you went to traditional publishing with Harper Design. So I would like you to teach the audience, as well as me, what are the top 3 major benefits of a traditional publishing deal versus self-publishing?
They'll give you an advance. And I think that it's good to have that behind you. Like, I think people look at you a different way because a lot of times when people self-publish, which I think is incredible. And the reason why I self-published is because I had my goal that I wanted to publish a book, put it together and sell it. And we had it up for 30 days or so. And then once Harper wanted to publish the book, taking it down and rewriting every single word in that book. So that book, the new book, which is here, is completely different from the other ones. The names of the archetypes are different. The examples are different. But for me, it's you just get a lot more attention. If you have a big publishing house, and HarperCollins is one of the top 6, I think it's second in the world. You just are on more podcasts.
Incredible brand. If we're talking about branding, HarperCollins is a phenomenal brand. So did they find you because of all of your success, or were you introduced to them?
Yeah, so I have an agent.
And did you have that agent?
There were several other publishing houses that were interested in the book. But
that's good. There was a little bidding war. That's great information. So you are an entrepreneur. You were going to get that book out no matter what. I understand that. Did you have the agent when you self-published already, or did you came upon that agent at some point after, and then you found some takers or bidders, since there was a bidding war, it sounds?
Yeah, and I already had the book and then was introduced to an agent, and she was like, there's no way that a publisher will take on this book that's already been published. And so I said, okay. And I was just like, okay, like we can work another book. We're working on different outlines for other books. And then I think she just sent it around. And because it was already done, like people could see it.
Yes, there's no imagination needed. And I think, in my opinion, I'm going to guess, and I don't know this at all, that Chronicle Books probably was one of the entities that was interested, because to me, the branding and the graphic design just scream Chronicle Books.
Yeah.
Chronicle. Good. Okay, so we are going to switch gears a little bit from you to your daughters. What is going on with those girls? They are taking the world by storm with their cookies, which I need to order. I'm pretty sure you will ship them to me. Just let everyone know what's going on with that.
Yeah, so my daughter, I've been training them in entrepreneurship since they were 9. So they've had a company called Conscious Kids since they were 9 years old, selling things from felt bulletin boards to at our pop ups to slime to used books. And finally, over the holiday, just because we have not holiday, but just because we've got a lot more time with COVID, my daughter has always had an interest in baking, and that's really how they came up with the idea. They have a little bit of experience, under their belt.
So, who is their target demographic? Did they write a business plan? Is there a goal for profit? Are you donating everything? What's the story and what is it called?
It's called Conscious Kids Cookies, and their goal is to help what Malia calls it kids in who have food insecurity. And so 10% of the proceeds go to No Kid Hungry. And
Yes.
each of the different cookies is imbued with a different quality. So like one of them is like one kind cookie, one grateful cookie. And so they've imbued these ideas onto the cookie to share what they call kindness.
That's so great. What is your personal favorite flavor?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I love the pandan cookie, the
Oh,
pandan
yeah.
coconut, which is a coconut. It's pandan is a leaf, but it's like the green cookie. It's really delicious. We're both of us are Filipino, so it's a Filipino cookie.
Yes, yes. So, have your girls really celebrated the Little Brand book, or are they too close to it and it's mom's thing?
Oh, the girls? Well,
Yes, your daughters.
they know what their archetype is. So my daughter Malia is a leader, and my other daughter, she's the original. So she's the artist of the family.
It's so much fun. It's so great that this is like family bonding, educational, philanthropic, building so many skills.
But you
That's
know what though? My youngest daughter wants to be like you. She wants to sing on Broadway.
She can do
So
that too. If
yeah.
she can do it all, you're doing it all.
I told her that in any endeavor that she should try to think, is there an entrepreneurial way you can achieve your goal? So
Absolutely. If she ever wants to talk to me, I'm
yeah, can
available.
she? Because
Of
she loves
course.
to sing, but she's shy. So, but she wants
Do
to
you
be on
know,
Broadway.
I was shy. I loved singing and I really did love and was proud of my voice, but I didn't need to be seen. I didn't want to be on stage gallivanting about. I literally thought, can I just stand behind the curtain? But I
Yeah.
got over it and she can too.
How did you get over it?
Doing it over and over. So
Oh,
before I was a singer, I was a classical violinist and I was always in a symphony. And even as concert master, which I was often, that's that first chair, you blend into 80 instruments. Then when you're thrust upon the stage singing, if you forget the words or you don't know where to come in, it's so vulnerable. But now I use that vulnerability and some of those mistakes as fodder for the audience. They love it. And sometimes I just keep going and it doesn't matter, but it took me a long time of doing it over and over to get used to it and to understand that it's better when you make mistakes because perfection and flawlessness is boring.
your voice is incredible. Are you going to sing on your podcast? I know there's a person who sings on his podcast,
Do you
Darius.
know I'm not going to sing on the podcast, but with the launch of my memoir, I'm going to be doing, instead of just a book reading, it's going to be performance based. And with the Audible version, there'll be excerpts of the songbook of my life from the 7 CDs that I've recorded. Okay, back to you. I don't know how secret this is but I'm just going to blow your cover. You have something really cool that I have experienced that I have talked about so many times to people, and it's your secret society.
Oh, Secret Circle?
So,
What is it?
sorry, Secret Circle,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which is also a society, but it's called Secret Circle. I was just mesmerized by being invited by you to this secret thing, getting the address last minute, and walking through a deliciously stinky cheese shop into a parking lot and then into a storage room that was so beautifully designed and the meal was out of this world. It was like being in a different universe.
Yeah.
So, what was your idea about that? And is it still going? And I can tell you what I personally got out of it after that.
Yeah, no, it's not going anymore because of the coronavirus. But I think for me, it's I really love connecting people. And I think that in order for people very busy and very fascinating entrepreneurs like yourself, you want to make it fun. You want to make it interesting because I would want that. I don't want to show up to a place where it sucks. Like here I am driving 40 minutes in LA to go get somewhere. Like you want to be surprised, you want to be delighted. And plus, I appreciate all my friends so much. And for me, what started it was number one, like I didn't have time to see all my friends all at once. And setting up coffees with everyone is difficult with our busy schedules. So the idea was let's bring everyone together and also bring in new people so that other people can meet other people. Natasha, you knew, I don't know, probably like a quarter of the people that were there, probably, so that you didn't feel like you were alone.
I knew
And
you, and that's really all I needed to know. I didn't know that I would know anyone there. And do you remember what happened? I was sitting across the table directly
from
from a
someone you knew.
woman I
Yeah.
went to high
Yeah.
school with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
From someone you knew.
she was a couple years older than me. And I was dumbfounded by the magic of that whole experience.
Yeah. And the food, right? Oh my God.
I can't even. I will remember that day forever. So I met one of the ladies that you had invited, and we worked together for a year, and we're still very close, and we share experiences and share information and give each other tips, and it's just been so mutually beneficial. So thank you for
You're
the
welcome.
experience, but also the introduction to these phenomenal women.
Yeah, I love connecting people. Did I tell you that story about how I connected one of our EO entrepreneurs to my agent at the time and he got into the Today Show? My agent for Luxe Link. And then he
Okay, let's do it. Tell it
he made
here.
$6 million on the Steals and Deals program. And the next day I think he made like 1.3. So
Okay.
it's you're like one person away from
Oh, yes.
potential.
Can you say who or what the product is, or is it a
Yeah,
secret?
no. It's Jeremy Shepard from Pearl Paradise.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So you, in addition to owning all of these companies, really love to connect people and be the rainmaker. You are the catalyst for so many things to happen for other people's lives.
I love seeing people succeed. Like it is just, oh my God, like every single time, oh my God, you're doing so good. Whatever I can do. I am so thrilled by that. So it just lifts my heart.
I can tell you're very motivated by that. So, what is next for you? Anything brewing that you want to hint at or even describe and give, listeners an idea of what they're going to see from you in the future?
I'm coming up with a guy version of this book. And I'm also working on, did I send you the full year ahead workbook? So
Yes.
I've created all these different workbooks to help, again, female entrepreneurs. And I'm going to be creating digital products for that. So on Kalika.com in the very near future, if it's already not up there, you can download some of these products because
Yeah, I was on your website. It's beautiful and it's so packed full of you and in a way that is so teaching and giving and beautiful. There's nothing not beautiful about you as a person, but also because you know about branding so much, you really do infuse that into everything that you do, which I really appreciate. So the digital products, the guidebook, is there anything that's just tapping you on the shoulder that you're not really fully formulating yet? Or are you thinking of 10 ideas a day?
there's something that I've been really scared to do, which is have launched like some type of YouTube channel or do more on ID Reels, share more education. I think for me, a lot of times when I see all these content creators, like they're doing it, but there's no monetary value. I'm such a business person. So I'm trying to figure out like, how do you really monetize it? And also really like everyone says, oh, you can make passive income, but is it really passive? So I think that I have to look at these ideas with my eyes wide open and think, okay, it's going to be a lot of work. Just like I thought that, oh yeah, I'm going to just make a product like the Luxe Link and it's going to be really easy because service businesses are too hard. But just everyone is doing a digital course or everyone's doing selling something so that they can get passive income. I have to look at it with my eyes open. Yeah.
And would you consider creating another physical product based on your experience with LuxLink and knowing what you know about yourself as an educator, a digital course creator, and a service based business provider.
Yeah, so it's going to be digital products, not physical products now, because I realize it's just, you can really scale a lot.
Yeah, someone recently asked me a question about physical products, and I'm like, here's the deal. I don't want to have inventory. I don't want to have a warehouse. I know that about myself. Like other people, very much suited to that. Me, not at all.
Yeah. But there are lots of other tools. Like I think that there's this tool called, I think, Get Studio. I'll give you the link. But what they do is if you do have something, like they will fulfill it for you. Like it's brand new. I'll get you the link. So
That's
I'm
great.
considering doing that.
I'd love the link for everyone listening. Or
They'll do
maybe I
everything for you. So if you have your logo, if I have branded stuff, they'll fulfill everything for you and
wonderful.
create the store for you as well.
Oh, goodness gracious. I love the done for you services out there. It's brilliant. So this year, what is the top strategy that you'll be focusing on for your companies and your endeavors?
I'm halfway through my planning, and the one word that I'm coming up with, like, I really need to listen more. And so I think listening is a strategy for me this year. A lot of times I'm just talking way too much and not paying attention. And when I listen, I can also help grow the leadership in my team rather than me saying, oh, you should be doing this or XYZ. Like having the patience to be able to listen, have them come up with a solution so that they can grow. And I can grow as well too, because it's pretty tough for me. Listen.
I think you're a good listener, but I think you're also very active. But I understand what you're saying because to listen is to give up some of your ego and some of your ambition and really sit quietly with the person in front of you and give them that allegiance. And as entrepreneurs and creators, our pistons are firing a million, times a second, and it is difficult. I think I've found with this podcast that listening more than sharing or asking long winded questions, which I wasn't actually doing a great job on this one with you, but that's okay. That's what editing is for. But I think listening is great. And listening is the way that you can learn about yourself, but also, of course, the other person.
Yeah, I think for me, I just don't want to come across as a know it all or like arrogant or, oh, like I've been a business owner for 21 years. There's so much more left to learn. And how you can do that is by paying attention and listening to other people. Yeah.
Thank you for that.